Hey, Steve Magnante here at High-Octane Classics in Auburn, Massachusetts with a 1969 Chevelle SS 396. Now, 69 was the peak year for SS 396 production with a total of 87,030 cars built, of which a small handful were convertibles like this one here. Now, 1969 was the big year for the 396. It was available in 3 potencies. We'll find out which one of those 3 engines this one has when we open the hood. And speaking of the hood, 1970, the year after this car was built, the cowl induction ZL2 option was released. But this is a domed hood right here. But again, these vents, these ducts, they do function, but they bring cool air into the cowl and then into the passenger compartments. They don't feed the engine any cool air, but that would come along in 1970 with the air door back here, whole different thing. But again, the SS hood, standard fare on all SS 396s, in fact all 87,030 of them came with this hood. And on this one, very nicely restored. The blacked out grille here, the SS 396 logo right there, which a little known fact is that the 396 motor grew to 402 cubic inches late in the 1969 model year thanks to a 30 thousandths overbore. But Chevrolet didn't want to disturb the legacy they'd created with this, the momentum, and go with an SS 402. So all the way through 1972, the 396 was actually a 402, but they never did do a 402 emblem for the outside of the car. Now we know. Now on the side of this car we see something interesting and new for 1969, the 14-inch styled steel wheels, which again were not seen in 1968 or 67 or 66, but for the first time right here in 1969. They weren't standard on the SS, but you could pay a little extra money and get those fancy styled steel wheels. They look like a mag wheel, but they are stamped steel, and that's okay. You know, Ford and Chrysler are also doing this trick, and they look good, and they're inexpensive to mass produce in a volume setting like this here. Now the horizontal tape stripe here was an optional item right there, properly equipped on this one here. This car is a numbers matching vehicle. Now we have to know which engine is under the hood. It's a 396 or 402, you choose, but which one of the 3? There was one that made 325 horse, one that made 350, and one that made 375 horsepower. Let's open the hood and find out which one we have here. Okay, right away we know this is not the big dog L78 because you could not get air conditioning with the solid lifter L78. So this one here, as the valve cover or air cleaner decal identifies, it's the mid-range L34 396 with 350 horsepower, not the base 325 horsepower L33. So nice touch there, a little extra power, a little bit of extra cost on the option sheet. But again, nicely rendered under the hood. Quite often cars with air conditioning, over the years, people delete that stuff, throw it away, and it's really hard to replicate. And this one looks to be very, very pure. Here's the original Frigidaire compressor right there. Chrome valve cover is part of the SS package. Ion intake manifold was part of the deal. There's a Rochester Quadrajet under that air cleaner right there, not a Holley. That would be seen only on the L78 375 horsepower solid lifter motor. But again, a great example right here of the mid-range 396. And underside of the hood, you'll see there's no ductwork, nothing like that. But the 14-inch diameter AC open element air filter right there does a good job of letting the 800 or CFM Quadrajet ingest copious quantities of air at wide open throttle when this thing goes, you know, to its 6,000 RPM redline. It's a hydraulic cam in this one here, so no maintenance problems. Just turn the key and drive it. Now this does have power disc brakes, as all SS 396 did have in 1969 and 70 and beyond actually. And actually there was an SS 350 in 1971 that was a decontented version of the SS. They weren't all big block powered after 1969 and 70. But anyway, this one has the big block and a big deal. Again, this is the peak year right here, 1969 for all Super Sport or SS 396 production with 87,030. Before this and after this, the numbers peaked and bottomed. So a very popular vehicle right here in 1969 and a very popular car now. Let's find out which transmission is riding behind that 402/396 you choose, and let's go around and take a peek inside this one. A little known fact about the SS 396 is that manual transmission was standard. The 3-speed heavy-duty manual was the base transmission, but if you paid another $184, you got this. The Muncie 4-speed, either close ratio or wide ratio, and the shift ball and shift arm are correct in this car. It says Muncie right there on the shift, and that's not an aftermarket piece, that's factory equipment. The Muncie, and of course Muncie Gear Division, the department of a subsidiary of General Motors, the Muncie transmission, and of course the shifter that came with it, not a Hurst unit, the Muncie item seen right there. This is very pure and very correct. Even a little, this thing right here which likes to collect debris, but that's correct right there, the shifter. and the gate cover right there, very cool. Another thing that's very unusual in this car is the factory accessory 8-track tape player right there. Put your Doors Waiting for the Sun or your Iron Butterfly, pop that in there and you're riding in style circa 1969. Now the price of this car would have been $2,872, base price with the 3-speed manual, not with the AC and all that stuff, but with the base price being $2,872, that was $199 more than the hardtop coupe. And you got to remember the SS396 was only available as a 2-door, either a convertible like this one here, or as a coupe. There were no station wagons, no 4-doors in the SS396 family line at this point in time. And again, this does have the optional A51 Strato bucket seats with the headrest here. And every car built in America after January 1st, 1969 had to have headrests right here to prevent whiplash injuries. But again, the price of these bucket seats were $121 over the bench seat, which would have been the standard front seat in these things. The SS did not have bucket seats from the factory as standard equipment. The Impala, the full-size cars, did have buckets from the factory, but not so the mid-size Malibu Chevelle. So these are $121 well spent. Adds a bunch of sport to the Super Sport inside this example here. One thing too we see at the back of this one is the F41 heavy-duty suspension, easily identified by the sway bar. It's sort of a bar that goes from the left and right lower control arms under the differential. Those help to attain body roll when cornering. And of course the 12-bolt rear axle, standard feature on big block Chevelles. We see it right here, the 2-bolt for the inspection cover right there at the 2 side positions. The 10-bolt axle would have been seen in small block cars and just basic automobiles, but the Chevrolet engineers knew enough to include the 12-bolt rear axle, which has an 8-point-inch ring gear. It's a strong rear axle, especially with that 4-speed transmission. And again, a great example right here of a nicely restored 69 Chevelle SS 396 ragtop. And here at the back of the car, like up front, the Chevrolet SS 396 logo is proudly displayed, so anybody riding behind this in a Roadrunner 383 or a Fairlane 390 or something like that would know darn well, don't mess with this one here because it's got a big block under the hood. And of course the SS396 moniker is also on the glove compartment door and the door jambs and the door panels, I should say. So SS396 Super Sport 396. And the final year for the SS350 and 396 and 454 would have been 1972. Of course 1973 is so a total restyle, the column-on styling. You can still get a 454 in 1973, but a very different car. Now one thing about the convertible is that it has a very special frame. In fact, these ride, it's body on frame construction, but if you put your hand down below here, you'll find that it's not a C-channel. It's actually a boxed frame right in here, which helps to make up for the lack of a roof so you don't get cowl twist and, you know, a good steady ride. So again, convertible only frame under the convertible's SS396. And of course, we have the factory 120 mile speedometer, the tachometer, which is an option. And of course, that 8-track is a very unusual thing to see in one of these. Of course, the console in the middle was also extra cost. So this stuff wasn't free. Now, Chevrolet probably made decent profit on these things. And they sold like hotcakes, truly. And again, there was a total of 870,030 units sold in the SS 396 lineup. 1970 would bring the SS 454, which didn't complicate things, but sort of makes things a little more muddled, if you will. And SS 396 was always undersold. The SS 454 was the big dog. So to learn more about this car, go to the High-Octane Classics website and check out the photo gallery.